Hello everyone and thanks for joining. As always, I really appreciate your support. If you do enjoy my little homemade slice of film nonsense, then please show some love with a like and subscribe. You can even hit that bell notification if you like. And if these videos aren't for you, well that's okay too. They really are homemade, so I do get it. Anyway, the joy about having this channel is blathering on about things that I really love. So on today's video, I really want to talk about the pure joy that is slasher movies. Now this genre holds a really special place in my heart. As a kid, the video shop was my absolutely everything. Every day after school, I'd pop in on my way home. I had no money, I just loved it in there. I was fascinated by all the strange and frankly scary video covers, always wondering what they were about. Now like most kids, I was always drawn to the X-rated 18 kind of films. You know, the ones that leaves us with a kind of terrified fascination. It really allowed my imagination to run wild. They were really good times. Then, as I got a little older, around 13ish, pirate videos were the thing. And I was so lucky that I was given a grainy, worn out copy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from a friend's older brother. Now obviously I had to sneak watch this without being caught by the parents, but wow, what a horrible film in the best possible way. And from that moment on, I've had a complete love affair with all things slasher. So I thought I'd make a little video about this particular genre. So what is a slasher movie? Well, there's a whole host of opinions actually about what a slasher movie really is, but I'm just going to talk about what I think it is. And to me, a slasher movie at its very core couldn't be any simpler. All you have is one or more killers, stalking, or killing one or more people. And as the name suggests, it's usually with a bladed article, so we're not talking guns here. Now, the greatest thing about slasher movies is overall they generally have the same basic key elements. Generally, you'll have an isolated setting, such as a farmhouse or a summer camp, hotel, hospital, graveyard, school, college. Ultimately, somewhere where we know help is not going to come. Then we have an unknown killer, either masked or disfigured or disformed, and obviously, if a little, not a lot insane. Generally, you'll get a revenge backstory for the killer, which will be revealed towards the middle or the end of the movie. Then of course you have the victims, usually teenage or younger adults. Now there is a whole host of virginal themes here at play. Usually the virgin survives. Then of course you've got lots of blood and guts and gore, lovely stuff. And then finally you have jump scares, or as the well-known critic Mark Kermode would say, quiet, quiet, loud. Now it would be fair to say that the appetite for watching, or want of a better word, enjoying violence can be traced back over 1,000 years. We've all seen Gladiator, haven't we? And we know what Romans like to watch for fun. But the genre as we know and love today really has its roots in fiction from the early 1900s, with books such as The Circular Staircase. This literary classic has a plot that has now real common slasher themes. It has a female hero and a killer on the loose. Now these type of plot devices soon became really popular and saw a whole host of books pop up with similar themes. Then some of these type of books actually became plays, which were kind of movies of their day, weren't they? And obviously they caused instant outrage. And as we know, when something is classed as outrageous or obscene, popularity only increases. And I think to a certain degree we're always fascinated by the outrageous, aren't we? Then in the 1930s, the prolific crime writer Agatha Christie, who's now famous for whodunits, released 10 Little Indians. Now this book was a story about a group of people, all with secret backgrounds, who were on an island and slowly being killed off one by one. Doesn't get more slasher than that, does it? By the 20s and 30s, horror had moved into films, but these were mainly focused on the supernatural, so Dracula, Frankenstein, mummies, etc. But obviously they really started to help grow an audience for really dark stories. Then, in the 1960s, we have Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. And many believe, and me included, really this was the official birth of the genre. We have a psycho, we have female victims, we have a knife, we have isolated settings. Now I'm not saying this was the first slasher movie, and I'm sure there were far more earlier here, but I do think it was a case of a popularity contest, and Psycho won out. This was, I think, in no small part to actually really clever advertising, which really intrigued and fascinated and scared people into wanting to see the film. Ultimately, the adverts left the prospective audience wanting and not wanting to see the film, all for the same reasons, if you know what I mean. So after the popularity of Psycho, the genre was up and running. Now, to many, the golden age of slasher movies actually started in 1978 with John Carpenter's Halloween and ran all the way through to 1984, where there was over 100 slasher movies being released. To me, I would say the actual genre probably started a little earlier with the rise of Italian giallo movies, but more on that little genre on a separate video. Now, like all genres, slasher movies dipped in and out of popularity. And by the late 80s, early 90s, they effectively retreated to direct-to-video low-budget affairs. Then in 1996, the entire genre got rebooted when Scream came out, to great reviews. And frankly, since that day to this, the genre has remained really popular. So why do people like slasher movies? That's a real weird one, isn't it? Because why do people like any type of horror? As the name suggests, they're kind of designed to invoke negative emotions, fear, dread, anxiety, frankly disgust. Why would anyone in their right mind want to seek out such movies? Indeed, are the people who seek these movies out in their right mind. And I can only speak for myself here, and I do consider myself to be in my right mind, although my good lady may disagree with me here. Ultimately, I think these movies simply get the blood pumping, give you a little shock. It's really exhilarating, isn't it? But still knowing you're going to be okay. I think creating a little fight-flight reaction can only be a good thing. We all know what we're watching is not real, but our bodies to a small degree kind of respond to what they are seeing. I also think there's something to be said about enjoying formula. We kind of know what's coming, we know where it's going, and that too can be comforting. Then of course you have the joy of production. I love trying to work out how they achieve certain effects, obviously before the rise of the yawn fest that is CGI. So let's look at my top 10 favourite slasher movies of all time. Now I'm not saying they're the best ones, I'm just saying they're my favourite. And in 10th place we have Child's Play. Some of the best horror films out there don't take themselves too seriously. And here we have the killer doll with a real bad attitude. And in 9th place we have the classic Psycho. Not only is this film a game changer, but still packs a punch and has a real plot twist that no one could have guessed. And in 8th place we have the wonderful Stage Fright. What gets better than a killer with an owl for a head? Absolutely bonkers, but beautiful all at the same time. And in 7th place we have Haute Tension, also known as Switchblade Romance. A French movie that's got a stupid plot, but it's a wonderful gore fest of a film. And in 6th place we have the Canadian low budget movie Curtains. And this has got to be on the list simply due to that mask. If you haven't seen it, you really need to. And in 5th place we have 1978's Halloween, the original Man in the Mask killer. And it could also be argued was one of the first films that spawned 1,000 sequels. And in 4th place we have Peeping Tom from 1960. It truly is a grubby little movie, but it's really worth the watch. In 3rd place we have the 1980 classic Friday the 13th. Yet another Man in the Mask, but an absolute classic of the slasher genre. In 2nd place I couldn't choose between Scream from 1996 and the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So my video, my rules, I put them both in 2nd place. And in 1st place we have Dario Argento's absolute classic from 1975, Deep Red. There's nothing I can say here that hasn't already been said. I just recommend you watch it. That's it from me, thanks very much for watching and don't be afraid to like and subscribe.